Hey everyone, my name is Mike with Chronus. I am here to welcome everyone to Thinking Beyond Unique Ways to Promote Your Mentoring Program. I'm super excited to get this event started. This is a new platform that we're using for the first time. So if we have any hiccups, please be a little bit graceful or gracious today. We will, hopefully work out any kinks that we encounter, but I'm planning for a very smooth event. Uh, while I get my screen share going here, wanted to just go over some housekeeping items. So this webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to that recording about 24 to 48 hours after the conclusion of today's event. This is also approved for one SHRM recertification credit. If you're attending live with us today, you'll also get that code in the follow-up email. If you watch it on demand, unfortunately, we can't issue that code, but hopefully there's plenty of you here today to take advantage of that. And we will have a dedicated Q&A session after the conclusion of today's event. So as you're listening to today's presenters, if you have any questions that you want to ask about this topic, please pop them into the Q&A tab that you see on the right-hand side. I also want to talk a little bit about Chronus. So if you're a first-time attendee today or not too familiar with us, we are a organization that really believes that companies and organizations only reach their greatest potential when their people do, and that means working for a place that makes you feel connected, understood, and developed. And we help drive that by offering mentoring software and ERG software that's really built to create better connections within your org. So if you're interested to learn more about how we can help you drive people development within your company, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to show you how we can do that. So today, I'm so excited. Chronus has an amazing implementation team, and I'm lucky enough to have two of our amazing implementation managers with us today to talk to us about some ideas on promoting your mentoring program. We have Christy Burrows, Enterprise Implementation Manager, and Taylor Tyson, Implementation Manager. And Christy, I'd just love to ask you if you don't mind just sharing a few things about yourself and your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here today. My name is Christy Burrows. I have been with Chronus since April of 2019, so coming up on 5 years. I have a lot of background from other companies, organizations throughout the life cycle of employment hiring, employment processes in place, HRIS systems. So I've always been in the implementation space, onboarding, and it's something that I really thrive on, developing and nurturing those client relationships.
Awesome. So glad to have you here, Christy. Taylor, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So like Mike said, my name is Taylor. I'm an implementation manager. I've been with Chronus for actually a little over a year now, so much newer compared to Christy, but not new to the mentoring space. Prior to coming to Chronus, I was in many of our administrators' shoes. I was running my own program, mentorship program, and worked in the higher ed sector for over 7 years before I transitioned to Chronus.
Well, so excited to have you here as well. And before, wanted to kick us off with just an icebreaker question. If you could invite anyone in the world from any time period to be your mentoring program spokesperson, who would it be and why? Taylor, I'm gonna shoot this over to you first, and also would love to hear from the audience as well. If you have someone in mind who you would want to be your spokesperson, drop it into the chat and we'll take a look at that once we get some responses from our panelists.
So when I heard spokesperson, my mind immediately went to like voice actors. That was where I went. So of course I had to pick Morgan Freeman because Morgan Freeman has, I would say, the most iconic voice. And can you just imagine Morgan Freeman's voice talking about your mentorship program? Like that just kind of gives me chills.
That's a good one. Christy, that's gonna be hard to beat. Do you have someone in mind?
I don't know if I can beat that, but I have, if anyone is familiar with the show Parks and Recreation or Parks and Rec, there's a character, Leslie Knope, played by Amy Poehler. So I would have to say that her pizzazz, her motivation, I surely would want her as a partner on my team. And then with Morgan Freeman, that would be like epic.
No, and I'm actually surprised that no one went back in time to to pick someone from from history. But I would take Morgan Freeman any day for sure. So moving on to today's main event, we're going to talk about some new and unique ideas to help you promote your mentoring programs. If you're a mentoring program admin veteran, I'm sure you understand how challenging it could be sometimes to get people to participate and stay engaged. And if you're new to a mentoring program at your organization, I'm sure you're kind of running into the same things. And I know just from hearing from our customers, they've tried all of the best practices and some of the more common ideas to help increase that engagement, but sometimes they just need something more and sometimes something different. So I'm hoping today with Christy and Taylor here with their expertise, we can offer the audience some new, maybe outside of the box ideas to help boost engagement and participation. So we're gonna try something different. I'm hoping it's gonna work. We're gonna play a game basically. And let me see if I can get my slide to move. Here we go. So I have some ideas on this wheel, and we're gonna spin the wheel, and wherever we land, we're gonna talk about that idea in a little bit more detail. So, Christy, Taylor, I hope you're ready for this. I decided to provide or throw out some points too. Like it's everyone's a winner here, but I thought it might make it a little bit more interesting if I just said like, Christy, that was that answer was like 1,000 points or 50 points or something like that. I don't have a fun name for this. I guess I should have because I'm a marketer and that's kind of what I should be good at. But I'm just gonna call it spin the wheel. So are you two ready for this?
Ready. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
It gives me some Jeopardy wheel vibes. I like it.
We can call it mentoring Jeopardy wheel, like combine Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, maybe. All right. So let's take this wheel for a spin. All right. So the first idea is raffle prizes for participants, and I think this idea is about just offering some incentive for the mentees in your mentoring program. But Christy, I'd love to start with you. What does this idea mean to you, and can you talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I think when we have mentees that are in a mentoring program, the responsibility, the initiative is a lot on them to, converse with their mentor, to identify what are some topics. So I think it's important for them to have some sort of incentives. So really just completing tasks within their milestone tasks within the milestones within the connection plan, that guided relationship with their mentoring partner, shouting out top mentees and offering them either a tangible prize or even something that is less tangible. So maybe if an organization doesn't have a budget to put towards something tangible, if you have a mentee that is maybe passionate about something, maybe they're passionate about Earth Day, or maybe they're passionate about Martin Luther King Day that we just had, or passionate about other diversity elements within our environment that we're experiencing right now, offering them a day to go give back or work within their community. So I think those are some good ideas as well.
Yeah, and Taylor, feel free to jump in too if you have anything that you want to add to this idea, but it is an interesting one. And you mentioned budget and budget in general, and I think that's probably going to come up with a few of these ideas. But is there anything else that the admin should consider if they want to do this?
I think considering what type of program they're running is a big piece. I know working, just in implementation, we see a lot of different types of programs. So I know I have some that are a little bit more formal and some that are a little bit more fun. They're intended to engage folks at the company, to engage participants. And so thinking about what type of program you're running and is this applicable? If you are running a DEI program, then, really doing one of those ideas that Christy shared would make a lot of sense. For some, it might not. But even thinking about, can you offer prizes for participation at events? Are you doing anything in person? Is everything going to be virtual? What is the concept that you're trying to incentivize, that you want your participants to do more of, and then how to incentivize that specific component?
Yeah, and you're like what you brought up about the program either being like in person, virtual, or hybrid. Like that's a really important thing to consider, because that's really going to impact the way that you do these raffles and prizes. And but just from like an execution perspective, like how do you determine what these, like how a mentee gets a raffle ticket? Does everyone get one?
It could be either or, right?
Have you
I think
found
it could,
one to be?
sorry,
Go
Mike,
ahead,
go ahead.
Christy. No, go ahead.
I think it could be from a couple different opportunities. I think it could be from, if you're a mentee, you're participating, you're donating your time as well. Same as the mentor. The mentor definitely needs to be promoted in this as well. But, the more tasks they're checking off, the more engaged you are within your connection, within your mentoring relationship. Maybe each one of those milestones is a ticket. So I think those are good methods, but I think it's also, dependent on what is that cultural environment at the organization like. Is it a culture of everyone is participating, everyone is engaged in all of the different events that you have, or are people more siloed? Are they more dependent on interactions with just within their specific team? So I think those are other considerations that should be made also.
Great. And audience, if you've tried a raffle or something similar, love to hear about it. So type in your experience with that in the chat, and share with everyone else, so that everyone could get some of that wisdom from you. All right, so let's
Mike, before you transition, I
yeah.
did notice we had some folks in Texas. And so for some of you, you might not be able to call it a raffle. You might need to be able to call it a chance to win, or door prizes, or things of that nature. So you can also get creative and not just call it a raffle. You could call it something fun.
That's a great catch. Thanks for pointing that out. All right. I think Taylor, because of that last comment, you get an extra 1,500 points. And I'm not even going to keep track of this, so we probably won't have a winner at the end. But all right, so here we go. Oh, it's the same one. So this wheel really likes this idea, so we're going to keep going here. Oh, create hype video. This is one that I definitely wanted to talk about. Let me get down to the question here. So I'm going to start with you again, Christy, because I know you were really passionate about this idea. But can you just share with the audience like what this is and what it's all about?
Yeah. So, as you're promoting your program, you want some sort of way of indicating what's in it for me, for both the mentor and the mentee. So having an opportunity to have people talk about what they like about the program or what they've gained. Now, this is under the assumption that you have a current program, or maybe you've had a previous program, maybe you've implemented that manually in the past, or now you're using automation, or now you're using Chronus. But it's really just an opportunity for people to raise their hand and say, this is what I've gained out of the program. But it also an opportunity to share that on social. I think a lot of our world is around social media and that instant gratification. So having a place to leverage and to put that video too.
Yeah, I love this idea. I think, and you're like you mentioning social is I think an important piece of it too, because you're right. I think our audience, there is an audience for this type of content on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and being able to share these wins or spotlighting somebody in a hype video to get that interest. And even if you're sharing this in a company intranet or just in your company Slack, it's a great way to build excitement. But it may seem pretty daunting for some folks, getting a video recorded, and like, do you need equipment, and like all that stuff. But is it really, do you have any thoughts on how to get a project like this started?
Yeah, so I think that it's first identifying what is the purpose of this. What is the purpose of this hype video? Who is your audience really? But just talking about changing the narrative and identifying a story. Mentoring is always about a story in that timeline. So I think it's really important to get marketing teams involved, get your communications team involved, and then really sync up with executive leadership. Your executive leadership team can really be pivotal with promoting this, with getting other people on board to complete this video. So I think it's really just starting there, and then identifying, what do you want to share in this video? I talked earlier about the what's in it for me, and I think that's a very common perspective, that you want this hype video to be fun and engaging, but you also want to indicate what are people going to get out of it. So I think starting with a couple of those different elements is key, getting the right people involved and identifying what is your purpose.
And, and I think one of the hangups that I've heard is really around like production value and just getting really stressed out thinking about that. But I know we started at Chronus creating more videos, and we really use this, right? Like your cell phone and headset, maybe some lighting. So you really don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get a video created. There's even programs that you could subscribe to online, like a Canva or something like that, that's relatively inexpensive, where you could even edit your videos. So the barrier to creating videos isn't very high anymore. So that's something. Video is definitely one thing that I'm really passionate about, and I think is a great way to get excitement built. But as far as the talent, the people that you want in the video, any thoughts on how to select them? Is it mentors or is it mentees? Taylor, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think the best way to go about it would be to have both. So it's a relationship, and there are two parts to that relationship. And so having input from both the mentor and the mentee, I think, is crucial. And especially if you're thinking about sharing other programs besides just one-to-one, who's involved, who needs to be a part of it. The video is also going to be more dynamic if it's just more than one person talking. When it's just one person, that same voice can get repetitive. When you have more than one voice, more than one face, you're able to change that up, add a little bit of spice to the video. And they can also play off of each other. Having that conversation, it makes people feel more comfortable if they are in front of the camera.
Yeah, and I think video also has a pretty long shelf life too. So you can continue to use it to promote your program throughout the year, and it usually doesn't go very stale. So it's just that the ease of use and reuse is great, I think.
I think also one other thing to note there is, I mean, if you have Morgan Freeman and you have Leslie Knope in your back pocket, I think these videos are going to be fantastic. But again, to Taylor's, point, making it a conversation, having mentors on there, having mentees, having maybe mentors that have been top performers or top mentors that have been involved in multiple relationships, to have lots of different perspectives of what they can give to a relationship and what a mentee can gain from a relationship, and vice versa.
Yeah, and that just spurred a thought. And I think that this is also a great opportunity to tap into your workforce's individual talents. I'm sure you have people within your organization who are really amazing at public speaking, or maybe they sound exactly like Morgan Freeman, so you could actually tap them to do some narration. Really reaching out to your employee base and asking for people to share their talents, I think, is another great way to keep costs low and get that value out of it. Great. So Christy, I'm going to give you 800 points for your response to that question. So you're catching up there. All right. Any other thoughts to this idea of a hype video before we move on? I'm just going to check the audience here, see if there's any good comments
While
here.
You're looking, Mike, there are a number of different ways that you could go with this, and I think that's important to think about too. You could be taking it in the direction of sharing a successful mentoring relationship, but you could have them talk about reaching a specific goal, or how this relationship has impacted their time at the company, how it has influenced their movement within the company. My research background always wants both quantitative and qualitative data. And so I always feel like opportunities for folks to share their stories is a great way to add that qualitative approach to sharing your program, as well as sharing the data that you have from the reporting tools within the system. And so combining those together to both tell the story of your program and also promote it. And that could look like promoting it, marketing it to get more people involved, or it could look like promoting it within the company to have more financial backing or more support for the program overall. There are a number of different ways to think about doing and utilizing something like this.
No, that's a great thought. And 300 points for you, Taylor, for that final thought there. I'm just reading through the chat. Marilyn had a really good idea. So her CEO agreed to promote the program as part of National Mentoring Month. So thank you for the reminder. It is National Mentoring Month in January. On Monday morning updates, and he's going to read testimonials from, or he or she, is going to read testimonials from, I'm assuming, the mentoring participants. I'm curious to know, Marilyn, like, is this going to be recorded video or something that could be reusable? If you haven't thought about that, then that might be something that you want to do so that you could continue to get some value out of that great content. All right, so let's spin the wheel again.
As we're spinning the wheel, I'd like to just provide one kind of final comment on there, if we don't mind. I know that a lot of our focus right now is towards organizations, but maybe you're having a mentoring program for cancer patients. I think that can look very differently in different organizations, nonprofit organizations. So whatever your purpose of a program like this is, I think this can look different in different ways also.
Are you just trying to get more points, Christy? Was that what you're trying to do here?
Absolutely. I think that was worth at least 500.
Didn't you know we were both competitive?
That's true. I did forget that. All right. Well, okay, fine. You get 500 points, Christy. All right. So the wheel would like us to talk about speaking at a team or a company meeting. So I'm assuming this is where we invite either a mentor or mentee to talk about their experience at a town hall or all company meeting. Um, but Christy, like, can you talk a little bit more about what this idea is all about?
Yeah, I think it goes back to some of our other points that we've made as well. Just bringing executive leadership in. I think that definitely has a large weight within a program when you have that sponsor, that mentoring champion, that executive leadership that are available to speak about what is the purpose, what's the initiative to or incentive to join this program. So really just inviting those champions to speak about uh, this program, this initiative in all hands meetings, maybe a quarterly business review, maybe just individual team or department level meetings as well. So I think it's really important to have their presence involved in a lot of different facets as we've discussed.
Cynthia put a really great piece in the chat. Her and her other admins created a Canva deck, and they schedule road shows at individual team meetings. She said roughly 13 meetings to present. So exactly what Christy was saying, like it can be at smaller meetings, it could be at larger, like there is a variety, but getting in front of those people is so crucial.
I think this also touches on the best practice of frequency. Like, you can't just promote your program one time at some point in the year and expect to get a flood of new participants and better engagement. Like, this is something that you have to do on a regular basis. Like, you have to keep getting the word out and reminding people that people are getting value from your mentoring programs. So kind of along those lines, Taylor and Christy, like, I'll just offer this up to the both of you. From your experience, do you have an idea of how often a program admin needs to be promoting to at least, like, just to get that, just to keep things at a consistent participation level?
The first piece is if it's ongoing or a cohort model. Because I think when a program is doing a cohort model and they have a defined start and end period for each program, that's going to look a little bit different. They're kind of constantly in a regular flow, whereas they're doing the marketing, they're enrolling folks in, it's closed for a while. You get to the end of the program and you're starting your marketing again. So you've got that defined timeline, whereas if you're ongoing, that might look differently. It might look like monthly promotions. It might look like quarterly promotions. Christy, what has your experience been with that?
I would definitely, plus one to what you're saying. I think it really depends on what is that frequency. Is that a cohort or rolling ongoing? But in my experience, I would have to say that, clients that are really leveraging that ongoing, I think it could look like in quarterly reviews. I think it also could look like, in one-on-ones, maybe with your direct manager, or even during that time of performance evaluations. I think for a lot of organizations, that's primarily towards the end of the year. So I think all those different opportunities are great places to promote the program, to talk about its benefits, to talk about overall that purpose, but also different voices sharing that and different perspectives is definitely key also.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat here, and Ralph, he cross collaborates with campus partners to do presentations, and Henry commented, if your mentorship is housed in HR, give your HR partners the visibility to the program, because they can help put that program in front of from other functions. So that's another great tip to help spread the word.
That also helps create just a mentoring culture. I think that's another piece to think about in this is, you can market however frequently, but the biggest impact is going to be when this is ingrained in the company's culture and everyone knows that these mentorship programs exist and that you can have access to them, and this is what you have to do to be in certain programs. Or like Christy said, you've got a supervisor who's putting someone forward to be a part of the mentorship program, really ingraining it in the culture and not just relying on the marketing to be the ones in charge of getting people into the program, I think is a huge game changer. And you see that shift in numbers over time when you move from just marketing a program to mentorship being a part of the company.
Yeah, and along those lines, Marilyn, she wrote their program is introducing the onboarding journey for all new employees. So just right off the bat, introducing them to and helping to build that mentoring culture, and establishing that mentoring culture is such an important thing. And we can, that's a whole separate webinar in itself. We could talk about that probably for at least an hour. But getting back to the question or the idea about getting your mentoring champions to speak at company events, and kind of tying it to the previous idea about creating hype videos, make sure if you're doing that, record those sessions, get them, on tape so that you can use that content for other promotion ideas later on in the year.
Or even at a bare minimum, being able to pull quotes from it.
Yeah.
And sharing quotes in your newsletter or in your social promotions, on the overview page for your program to have folks sign up, whatever that might look like, even just sharing some one-liners.
Yeah. And audio recordings too. Like, don't discount audio recordings. That's also a great medium to share and promote your ideas or your mentoring programs. And I'll just add another thought. If you have your mentoring champions preparing to speak at your company events or meeting, also set up some time to get them one-on-one to do more of a face-to-face video recording there too. So just some different ways and opportunities to continue to get more value from these moments that you do have to promote your programs. All right, 1,000 points to both of you. Great job. Back to the wheel. Yeah, the wheel likes the hype videos. I think I landed on it like 3 times. In the audience, if you like this format, let us know so we can continue to do this type of content. Oh, wow, hype video again.
Clearly, we know what the favorites are. While you're spinning, it looks like Anna also put something in the chat. During mentorship program, they have short inspirational notes or quotes to mentees about the benefits. I love that. I think hearing someone else's experience and story is so much more impactful than just telling them what they're going to get out of the program.
Yeah, how motivating is that, to hear from your fellow coworkers and colleagues the value that they've received. That's very cool. All right, so we're going to now talk about sending copy cards. This sounds pretty straightforward, but Taylor, can you give us a little bit more insights into this idea?
Yeah, so this was actually something that I did as a program administrator, and I actually know of a few other programs who have done something similar. So thinking about creating opportunities for both appreciation and for creating space for your mentees and mentors to potentially meet face-to-face or meet in a different setting. So it could be a specific coffee card. It could be a Starbucks gift card, or maybe you've got some local coffee shops around where your folks are at that would be beneficial. But providing an opportunity for folks to have that one-on-one opportunity to chat. And for some folks, maybe when they're doing all of their other meetings, they're meeting from their office. And so creating an opportunity for them to meet somewhere else may open up the conversation to go in a different direction that it typically has. That change in atmosphere can create a different feeling. And so feeling more safe or secure, feeling more open to talk about specific things that maybe they don't feel comfortable talking about in the office can be really impactful. or if you're running a program, where folks are mostly virtual, but they could potentially meet up, this might be an incentive for them to go and meet in person, to have a slow morning where they meet and have coffee and, talk through some of the goals that they're working on and all of these different pieces. Or, if everyone is virtual, maybe it looks like sending everybody a branded coffee mug with coffee or a hot chocolate bomb or tea in it, so they can have a virtual engagement where, they're getting to have that warm beverage and conversation. That's something that I think is always embraced a little bit more in the winter. There's something about a warm beverage in the winter, but it doesn't have to be. You could brand it a little bit differently. I'm a big fan of a pun, so adding something like, "What have you been up to? Catch up with your mentor on us. We see you grinding," or "You've been a quality mentor." Fun things like that to just get your folks engaged in a different way. But it's also a really cool way to thank them for what they're doing.
I love that. And something that you said really sticks out for me. Getting your mentor mentees outside of the four walls of your office can have a pretty cool impact in the way that they're engaging with one another. Because at least for the mentoring relationships that I've been in, it's not all about work. Sometimes we do talk about some personal things, and that's a part of building that trust and getting what you need from your mentor. And I think, to your point, Taylor, like getting yourselves out of the office where your brain might just think, okay, well, I just need to keep this professional, to a more of a personal outside setting could be a great way to kind of break through and to provide that avenue with a coffee card. I think that's just a great way to help build that relationship. It's something as simple as that could have such a great impact.
I think also touching on Taylor, I am obviously a fan of puns as well. I love all of those things, but it also just, and what Mike, you said as well, is just gaining that trust. Someone doesn't have you can't have trust in someone immediately off the bat. You have to earn it. You have to, as for me, someone, I will not trust them right away. They need to earn my trust. And I think taking it into a different environment, as Taylor had mentioned, also helps to break down maybe some of those barriers. And Mike, you had mentioned, taking it out of the office. I think having more of that maybe informal environment helps someone open up. Maybe it's personal things that they're discussing, but also that can also, help with their professional growth. Having a different venue, having something that's more informal, something that's more comforting for those individuals. And also just bringing forth that human connection. I think that's also incredibly important in any type of these relationships.
I mean, we're human. We need that connection to happen, and if we don't get it, then we're not going to be able to perform at to the best of our abilities. So I think it's super important. All right, so 2,000 points for each of you. Now I'm being lazy with these points. All right, let's spin the wheel. And to the audience, we're gonna try to save about 10 minutes of our time today for Q&A. So if you have questions for Taylor and Christy, please don't forget to pop them into the Q&A tab that you see on the top right of your screen, and we will try to answer as many of those questions as we can.
While you're spinning this, Mike, I would also say if there are ones that we haven't been able to get to, please put them in the chat. If it's something that you really, really would like to talk about, I know we'll talk about the strengths quest in a second, but if there's something we haven't talked about and you really have a passion for listening more about ways to implement that, please let us know.
Yes, absolutely. Strengths quest. Taylor, I need to ask you, what is Strengths Quest, and why is it a good idea?
So I think Strengths Quest is just one of many things that could be plugged in here, but this is one that, so specifically right now, I am running the Women's Employee Resource Group here at Chronus, and we have a lovely teammate who is a Strengths Quest coach. And so this is something that we decided we wanted to do as a piece of professional development within our employee resource group. And so we are paying for everyone within that specific group to take Strengths Quest. And then we're going to have some workshops and some dialogue around it. I've seen other programs pay for different other strengths or personality quizzes or, things of that nature. And not everybody gets into it. Some people might not enjoy that as much as others. And so it's something that could be very much optional. Again, it's something that requires some semblance of a budget. There are some free different tests and things out there that you could promote for folks to take, but it can be a piece for a conversation starter. So having something to have dialogue around, to talk about themselves around, that's a bit of an icebreaker, but also is a form of professional development. So a way for them to look at their skills, areas that they want to develop, different pieces to think about specifically there. You could also look at doing a similar kind of concept with different pieces. So maybe it's purchasing or having books. Maybe you've got some professional development books that you want folks to be able to read and kind of have a book club within the program itself, whether that's meeting individually with their mentor or meeting as an entire group or both to talk about what they worked through or what they learned, things that stood out, various pieces, just a way to engage folks in a different way than what we typically think.
And I think promoting, I'm going to talk more about the Strengths Quest or personality assessment. It may be a good thing to put that in your promotion materials, because I know a lot of people are interested in learning more about how they operate within a professional setting. And that's something that my mentor and myself did. We did the saboteur assessment, and it was such a great way to start the mentoring relationship, to learn more about who her saboteurs are and how she can overcome them, and I could share what mine are. So it was a great way to, like, almost like an icebreaker type session where we just get to learn more about each other on a personal level before taking it into some of the more professional topics that we would obviously talk about later on. So it sounds like these are just more general events that you can do, Taylor, to help get the word out, to help get better engagement. Is that right?
Yeah, it's also a really cool way to engage your mentors, maybe in a skill set they already have. So one of the things that I did in one of my previous roles was to have events that were run by our mentors. So we had some mentors who specifically, ran their own coaching businesses. And so kind of let them take the lead on skills and working towards their own strengths in a different way from just that one-on-one, having a larger space to work through those. In this Strengths Quest example, giving that opportunity to one of our teammates to coach the rest of us on something that she really enjoys doing and had the opportunity to do in a previous position, and now bringing it into what she's doing here. So just the creation of different forms of events and engagement for your users, your mentors and mentees, to have different things to have dialogue around, and that professional development piece all kind of wrapped into one.
Awesome. 250 points for you, Taylor. 150 for you, Christy, for your feedback on that. So I think I saw something. So Roxanne actually asked for some more info on speed mentoring tactics. So I'm gonna break the rules a little bit. I'm not gonna spin the wheel. We're just gonna pretend that we landed on speed mentoring. So Taylor, can you walk us through what speed mentoring network events look like for as an idea?
Yeah. So I'm sure many folks have heard of speed dating, even if they haven't participated in it. So the concept of, you could do this a few different ways, but it could be, all of your mentors are set up at tables, and they are, staying in their one spot, and the mentees are going from one person to the next, and they've got their card with their questions, and you've got a timer, and you're, doing it in true speed form. Or it could look like, using more of a flash mentoring model, using the actual program, setting up a flash mentoring program where folks are meeting one-on-one individually for like a 30-minute meeting, and then creating their long-term one-on-one mentorship relationship based on how that went. So the speed could be at a variety of different speeds. Could be done in person, could be done virtually. You could, set up a number of Zoom rooms and have folks put into those Zoom rooms to talk for 15 minutes, and then everybody comes out and you assign them into the next room. There's a variety of different ways that you could do that, but it gives folks an opportunity to meet someone, to have a little bit of an initial dialogue and start a conversation, and feel that out. Is this going to be a good match? Is this something that I want to pursue? Do I think this person would be a good fit? Christy had a really great opportunity to work with the Coast Guard on a really cool speed mentoring event as well.
Yes. So to kind of bring that to light, the Coast Guard here, and I'm sure that everyone is familiar with Coast Guard, but they were going to be leveraging this really, really huge event where, thousands of people were going to come in and have that face-to-face interaction, very similarly to how Taylor explained of, having individuals set up in different groups, having mentees go one by one. Again, just establishing, having that initial conversation to see if that's something that they would want to grow, to have that more longer term connection. So it was unfortunately with some weather, it was canceled, but will be rescheduled. But, that was kind of their representation for that, and to give everyone that opportunity to have that initial conversation in person. And to Taylor's point, that could work virtually as well.
I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot here, but how would an event like speed mentoring, how does that attract more interest for your program itself? Or do you just kind of see the same people showing up, who's already done mentoring?
I think it allows folks to dip their toes in without committing, to feel out, is this something that I think would be a good fit? And maybe for some, the idea of meeting with that many people over a short period of time is anxiety inducing, and that's not for them. And that's why you take a full approach. This isn't your only marketing tactic. But for some folks, this speaks to them. I want the opportunity to meet the mentors before I, really invest in being a part of the program. And so having that chance to meet folks, to engage, even just to network. So you're building your network with all of those people without having committed that one relationship. And maybe I decide Mike's going to be a great fit for me for my one-on-one year-long mentorship. But Christy had some really cool things to say, and I really want to talk to her more about her experience with setting up mentorship programs. So, thinking about one piece versus multiple goals, there might be different people that are the best fits for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And have you seen doing something like this, or, I don't know if you've actually done this before, but for the mentee, I could see that this would start to build like a list of mentors that they want to meet with throughout their time at the organization. Have you seen that type of outcome from doing something like this, or heard of it?
I haven't seen it specifically, but actually when I heard from Carl, who Christy had worked with at the Coast Guard, listening to him talk about the experiences of some of the folks who have done this previously and how that's worked, that's definitely been a piece that was an unintended outcome.
I'm really curious to hear more about this type of promotional idea. I've never done speed dating or speed mentoring before, so it's fascinating. All right, I think we
it's
have
also
time.
leveraging
Go ahead.
just networking in general and just getting, face-to-face interactions or virtual face-to-face interactions with different individuals that you may have some sort of commonalities with. Also, maybe you didn't even know this person existed, and through this event, you just met maybe the best mentor of your life, or someone who could have a pivotal change on your environment, your career, you as a person. So I think, to Taylor's earlier point, it gives people a flavor of an opportunity. Is this something they have interest in? And starting there, but bringing it into other situations where maybe a group is not that person's cup of tea.
Yeah, speed mentoring, you could potentially find the mentor that will change your career. Speed dating, you might find your forever spouse, your forever person.
Mike, there was one put in the chat. I lost it now. Someone had said something about being in the final stretch of recruitment and looking for recommendations for drumming up some last minute interest. This could work last minute, but it could also be a part of a larger strategy for getting folks in your program. Having folks submit recommendations or nominating someone for the program that they think would be a really great fit. I have found for a number of different programs and reasons that it's a really great way to get folks engaged who wouldn't normally. So, I might not feel comfortable putting myself forward as a mentor. I might not think that I'm there. But if someone nominates me and says, hey, I think you'd be a really good fit for this, I think you should be a mentor, I'm more likely to sign up for that. There's research that supports that. There are a number of different national programs working with college students specifically, targeting those audiences so that they are more likely to sign up and be engaged because they feel like someone already thinks they'd be a good fit. So that nomination process could simply look like asking folks you already have in your program, do you know someone you think would be a good fit for this? You could create a draft email or a draft letter for them to send to the person, or it could be they give you that person's name and why they think that they'd be a good fit, and you reach out to them with those details, create the template, plug that piece in. It doesn't have to be super time consuming, but it is super impactful.
I love this idea to help with engagement, and we all know, or most of us know, how hard it is to build that mentor bench. There's usually more mentees than mentors, so nominating future mentors and and the boost and impact that could have, like I love that. Yeah, and I would feel the same way if someone nominated me to be a mentor. I would be more likely to want to do it. I think it's an honor to be recommended to mentor somebody. It's not something to just kind of bat an eye at. I'm seeing some really good comments.
Even to have someone nominate you to be a mentee and not just a mentor, that they think you'd gain a lot from the program, that they think you'd be a good fit. That says a lot too.
Absolutely. Marilyn in the chat, she wrote, looking for an option for open mentoring hour, kind of like an office hour where people can just pop in and ask questions. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's in the same, like that, speaks to someone who just maybe they're unsure about mentorship and they just want to ask some questions. Mentoring office hours, great way to get to help people understand what your program's all about.
I really like that idea as well. I think it reduces, again, some of the barriers that you as an individual may have of stepping into something when you have unknowns about that. But allowing an opportunity that can create a space for anyone to come in, I think that's a great idea.
Natalie, yeah.
Natalie also put in the chat that they hosted mentor roundtables during an in-person event. It was met with mixed reviews. Some people didn't like timed conversations, and others didn't like coming up with questions or conversation topics, and they're still tweaking the event. That was one of the cool things that I took from the Coast Guard program, was that they had created kind of a flashcard with conversation prompts to get them started, conversation topics, so they didn't have to think of them. Because I would definitely be in the same boat. I would be stressed about thinking about, okay, what do we talk about? What are some of the conversation topics I should pull out? Like, are these good? Are these too surface level? Where do these fall? And so, yeah, definitely taking some of those barriers. I'm really curious to see how this continues to pan out for you, because I think, once you kind of tweak that, and especially if folks know ahead of time, this is what to expect, I think it'll be interesting to see what the response is to that.
I agree. Prepping your mentors and mentees who are participating in these types of event as much as you can will only help make these events be more successful. I wouldn't want to be put on the spot either. And Natalie, please keep us updated on how this goes for you. Love to hear more about it too. All right, so we only have 4 more minutes. I promised we would save some time for the end for chat. I should give myself negative 50,000 points for not keeping a better eye on the clock. But let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A. If you have any questions that you are dying to ask, please pop them in the Q&A section on the right-hand side. First question from Como. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We are in the final stretch of recruiting for our second mentorship cohort. Any recommend? Oh, I think well, Taylor, you touched on this question.
That's the one that I read.
Yeah. But other than speed mentoring as a last minute promotional event, are there any other ideas that they can do to drum up some interest?
I would say,
go ahead, Christy.
Go ahead.
We talked a lot about sharing stories, sharing them, via meetings or virtually. And that could look like something extremely scaled down, and just sharing some of those and some quotes and some real life examples. It could be pieces that you've gotten from surveys from previous mentoring groups, getting permission to use their survey responses in some of your marketing materials. But sharing that story can be really helpful. And also thinking about who's sharing the messaging, because if you're the one who's sharing that messaging time and time again, people are used to it coming from you, and it might be really helpful if it comes from someone else. Like Christy mentioned earlier, if it's coming from leadership, if it's coming from their supervisor, that can change what they're hearing when it's coming from someone else. Christy, you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to add on to those, I was definitely gonna call out that story and talk about that impact there as well. But knowing that this is a second mentorship cohort, that's under the assumption that you've already had a program and everything. But I think also to note, it's other leadership, as Taylor had mentioned, but just having an opportunity to identify who are you wanting to recruit. Do you have a specific targeted audience? Do you have interest from other mentees that are looking for mentors with another skill set, or other maybe competencies they excel in, or other values that they have with the organization? So I think it's also identifying your audience of who are you wanting to target or promote to, but just all of those different venues that we've suggested leadership and announcements, internet, social, just all of the different channels and different voices, I think definitely will help provide kind of a guidepost of that framework of what you're looking for.
Now I'll just add one more suggestion before we conclude here. Just coming from my own marketing experience, to drum up some extra, some last minute interest, create some urgency. Send out a last email, maybe even sharing some of the feedback or the quotes that Taylor mentioned, and you can use a subject line like "last chance" or something like that to help people think and feel like they need to get in on this. That's you may drum up a handful more mentor or mentees joining your program. So that brings us to the top of the hour. Thank you, audience, for spending an hour of your time with us today. I hope you got some good ideas and some motivation or inspiration to do something different to promote your own mentoring programs. Thank you so much, Christy and Taylor, for sharing your wisdom with us today. And please, if you have a spare minute, please fill out the post-event survey, and we will follow up with you with the recording and the code about 24 to 48 hours after today's event. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.